Hey everyone, this is Mike from You'll Probably Agree. Today I have Sophia Wong Boccio, the founder and executive director of Asian PopUp Cinema. It is running from September 10th to October 10th, and also for a Halloween treat on October 30th to the 31st. If you want to find out more about what Asian Pop-Up Cinema is, well, hop on over and listen to this episode. But before I start this episode, I want to thank my longtime sponsor, Galway Bay. Located in Chicago, Illinois, Galway Bay is at 530 West Diversey Parkway. These guys have been enormously helpful in my show. Ever since I switched over from Johnny O'Hagan's to Galway, the owner Nolan Patrick Rafferty has let me place my cameras there, with my lights and film the shows and just do all this stuff where most other bars would probably be asking, when are you done and all that. Nolan doesn't care at all. He's been amazing. It's also like the perfect dive bar to go to. You don't just go there and you feel like you're just some guy going to the bar where someone calls you sir. They're going to know you by name. They're going to, you're going to feel like a regular there, and and it's like your favorite dive bar to ever go to. If you want to know why people love dive bars, this place is why. I mean, you can go there, play a game of darts. You can play some old school video games hooked up to some emulators in the back and some non-emulators. They got like an N64 hooked up there along with some other stuff. And you can also play some pool and stuff like that. And now you can also get pizza there. So go to Galway Bay at 500 West Diversey Parkway in Chicago, Illinois. It's the best dive bar in Chicago. You can find them on Instagram at Galway Bay 500 and on Twitter at Bay Chicago. All the information regarding the bar will be linked in the description of this video. And now, without further ado, we're going to get this episode started. Hello, everybody, and welcome to You'll Probably Agree. Today, I have Sophia Wong Boccio. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Did I?
Boccio.
Boccio. Okay. Last names are a little bit of my weakness.
That's okay. Just call me Sophia.
Okay, yeah, will do. The founder and executive director of Asian Pop-Up Cinema. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Well, I invited you here today because I made a little movie that won an award at the Asian Pop-Up Cinema 1 Minute Shorts Festival Awards. It was about social distancing with your family. I filmed it with my brother-in-law and sister and my niece and nephew, and it was about a family who literally stays 6 feet from each other and kind of kept their masks on and made sure that they took their precautions at home a little too seriously, I guess you could say.
But it was so funny. It was the best. I have to say that out loud now. Out of all the entries, that was the #1 film that I keep going back and I still laugh at it.
Oh, thank you so much.
So it was very well done. And I thank your entire cast, who are your family members, right? Your brother, your sister-in-law,
yeah,
and your two little niece and nephew.
Yeah, my 2-year-old nephew and my 1-year-old niece. I think, or no, she's 2 now actually, and now my nephew's gonna turn 3 next week.
Wow, how exciting. That little clip was just nailed it right to the point and at the right time to show it, that we all enjoy a little laugh. So I really love it. Thank you very much for your work.
Yeah, so having said that, for like people who might not know what Asian Pop-Up Cinema is, I'm actually sporting my Asian Pop-Up shirt right now.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah, I wear it regularly, actually. Someone at the grocery store, when I was doing my local exercise, like I think a month ago, actually said she liked my shirt. So
oh, thank you.
Yeah. So what exactly is Asian Pop-Up Cinema for the uninitiated?
Okay, so Asian Pop-Up Cinema is a biennial Asian film festival held in the spring and the fall of the year in Chicago. I founded this about 5 years ago in the fall of 2015. So 2020 is actually our 5th anniversary for the year. How did it come along, right? I moved to Chicago in 2000. I am a Hong Kong born, Hong Kong city girl. I always call myself city girl. I'm born and grew up in Hong Kong, and my husband and I got relocated to Chicago in year 2000. So the first 15 years, I devoted myself and worked in nonprofit art and culture sector. And one of my first job was running the Chicago International Film Festival. So I learned a lot, about film festival and anything. But after 15 years, there was still no Asian film festival in Chicago. I mean, we got Jewish Film Festival, Polish Film Festival, Latino Film Festival, Children Film Festival. We got any film festival, any country. They all have a little platform. But we didn't have a asserted effort of showing Asian films. I meant Asian film made by Asian filmmakers living in Asia. I mean, we do have a Asian American Film Festival, but it's not Asian films. So I founded the festival to fill the void, and my vision was to bridge the East and West through the diverse offering of Asian films. And I hope, right now, when I first started, I felt like Chicago is so behind with the rest of the major cities in United States that had Asian films, right? New York is already in their 17 or 18 edition, the New York Asian Film Festival. Chicago, San Francisco, they all have it. And San Diego, they all have it. So I just feel like if I do it twice a year, I could catch up faster. So we are now entering, actually next week opening, we are entering our 11th season. So even though we are 5 years old, but we can proudly say it in double digits, season 11.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So as a guy with me who has limited knowledge of Asian cinema, I mean, I know a little bit, like, beyond the popular filmmakers. Like, I grew up as a fan of Kurosawa and Ozu, and of course, we have like Chan-wook and Bong Joon-ho outside of the standard names. Who would you recommend I should like check out, or anyone should check out who's like really getting engaged in Asian cinema?
Asian cinemas, really talking about the films produced in the continent of Asia. Our festival is more focused on East Asian, which is the cinema of Japan, China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and South Korea, and including, of course, the Japanese anime and action films from Hong Kong. And we do try to bring in some Southeast Asia cinema, which is films from Singapore, Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, those Southeast Asian countries, right? So I would say it all depends on to the American audience, general public. They are probably very familiar with Hong Kong action films, and if they want to see anything, they probably more familiar with South Korea and associate South Korean cinema with suspense and thrillers, right? And then with Japanese, they probably know a lot about anime than a lot of other type of genre films from Japan, and some family dramas. So everybody's knowledge depends. I think instead of following the filmmakers, they actually following the style of the film. They can be they can relate to or drawn to, either visually or just by the actions sequels of it. So it really depends what type of film you like you can watch. And I probably jumping ahead a bit, I think it all has something to do with the barrier that people here has to overcome is reading the subtitles. I mean, not just Asian film. I mean, in general, the people, our America audience are more used to just just listening English language movies, right? They don't have to read the subtitle. So for a longest time, even the French cinema, the Italian cinema, the German films would never really get to get the attention that normally you will get compared to the American movies, the Hollywood movies. So because of that, people are a little bit. It's because of they're not exposed to it and they don't see it. So it seems like it's harder effort for them to see them. So who could I recommend? There are so many of them. They're all good films. So it depends what you like. If you like action film, you probably the first thing you pull up is Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan movie, right?
Yeah.
So you look at them right away. That's from Hong Kong, right? Bruce Lee, probably the big godfather of martial art movie that any American general public will include and look at them. And then, these days, of course, I must say, thanks to Netflix, there are a lot more foreign language films being shown, and they are shown in that you can watch in the comfort of your home. Mm-hmm. You have the control or to pause and replay if you miss a line, for example, reading the subtitle, that you can't do it in the theater, right? If you miss the line, the subtitles. But here you can actually do that. So in fact, I would say they have helped cultivated and how do I say, flatten the barriers a little bit. And a lot of people these days, if you talk to the younger generation, people who are now watching film on their tablets, on their little iPad, on TV, they are much more used to watching foreign language movies than our generation, that we only go to the cinema to watch movies. So the streaming do create an open people's mind and acceptance of watching foreign language movie. So I think people like you now is, Parasite is a supreme, extreme example that got the historical win in Oscar for a foreign language movie, and that won the best. So how many awards they got? I forgot.
They like semi-sweeped it. They got best director, they got best screenplay, best foreign language film, best picture.
Amazing, yeah. Right? And that, it just really opened. And I think actually before that, a Japanese filmmaker, Koreeda, also won big prizes in the Cannes Film Festival. All of this, the International Film Festival definitely elevated Asian filmmakers' influence and impact through their platform. So I look forward to the future that people actually can throw a few more names out. So if I throw a name out, they will say, "Oh, I saw that. That will be the best thing I will have happen in the future."
Yeah.
Near future. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's especially, when it comes to reading subtitles, I think that barrier has really been kind of broken and a lot easier for Western audiences these days too, because like how it's so often now that we just have the closed captioning on our TVs, or that, we're just naturally watching something on our phone anyways, or we're constantly reading something on Facebook. So to read the subtitles really isn't that hard to do. And it's something you just fall right into as someone who engaged himself with foreign language cinema a long time ago. So it's really not that hard to do at all.
Yes, exactly. I mean, for me, I actually turn on the captions for the British films.
Yeah.
Because the accent and everything, I sometimes don't understand every single word. I mean, of course, I'm not a native American person. I'm not born up here. English is not my first language, so I always find the subtitles helpful anyway.
It would have been, I saw Tenet about, I think, like a few days ago.
Uh-huh.
And boy, that movie needed subtitles.
Oh, really? Okay, now you
Oh my
got me on
gosh.
it.
Yeah, because Christopher Nolan's sound mixing is notorious for being confusing with his sound effects and his music being overbearing, and then
Okay.
people are giving extremely detailed expository dialogue, and it's just like, oh man, I really need something because I don't understand what's going on in this film. Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
uh,
Good to know.
I know like when we were doing these 1 minute films, it was kind of interesting because it really pinpointed a significant uh, part of history where filmmakers, they have more limited crew. I mean, they started production on the Batman again and had to shut down because Robert Pattinson got COVID right away because you're around a crew of like 200 people or more. And, well, with a film that budget was like 1,000 people. So what do you think now filmmakers can do to innovate, to create movies on such limited resources?
Well, they definitely have to reimagine, right? They
Yeah.
have to rethink outside of the box. I mean, it's so clear that making a film with social distancing is almost impossible.
Yeah.
And as a producer, I can't imagine how they budget their film now with increasing insurance premium and liability and the cast, and how do you put everybody in the same place, and
Yeah.
how do they make a love making scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, how do they kiss each other now?
CGI. Yeah.
So all of this are a crazy situation that in this new world we're living in. But you know what? Like you making your short film within was it in the basement you were shooting it? It's like in a family room, right?
This is my sister's house, so it's like
Yeah.
in a bunch of places there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think filmmakers have always had the experience of making film under extreme circumstances, right?
Mhm.
They could be on different location. They could be in a war zone. They could be under the sea. They can work with multi-language crew and extra and plus CGI, no CGI, green screen, everything. They have done all that. It's just a matter how they put their heads together and be innovative about making their films. I do think, just common sense, making mega budget movie is actually harder compared to making small independent movie. I would say this is the time for the indie filmmakers to shine
Yeah.
because they can find a place outdoor, still shoot and very small crew, maneuvering the space easier, and they can make a movie. At the end of the day, it's the stories that count. You have to have a good story. You have to, the script have to be right. I think organizing your shot, you have to think differently. You have to think more about the circumstances, the environment they are shooting, besides just concern not naturally the lighting, all the other things you usually have to think about. And I think they will make it work. No matter what, they will make it work. And in the film festival worlds, I also noticed there is a more collaborative kinship type of spirit have been developed amongst major film festivals. Very early, there's a one World Film Festival show up, all the big festival, all chip in and show a virtual program before we are in what we call phase 2 situation.
Mhm.
And everything online. And these days, like TIFF, they all talk about being less competitive, and they all talk about combining their efforts in making sure the films that need to be shown can be shown, regardless what festival is showing it. So I think these are the good some of the good side coming out of it. And we will still make it work. And I don't think next year we have no film to show. I don't think so. But it's just a different kind of film coming out. And maybe they are make for more for small screen experience. But at the end of the day, people still go back to the big screen, no matter what. it just different timing and different things will come out. That's my own, my very, how do I say, general observation now.
Yeah, it's funny when you talk about the big screen now, because I'm wondering, have you kept tabs on what cinemas are like in places like China or South Korea? Because I mean, I saw Tenet, for instance, in the United States, and that was in the Music Box, where I saw it in that particular venue because I particularly trust them.
Yeah.
Uh, like if I went to like my local Regal theater or something like that, I'm not sure, how safe I would feel. Have you, do you know what it's like over there as of right now with their big screen experience? Because I think they opened a little earlier than us.
Well, as you said it, the trust. The
Yeah.
trust is so important. The box office success for any theatrical release these days cannot be dependent on the pre-COVID-19 type of publicity and marketing efforts. Whatever you did before, it does not help. It might help, it just spread the word out. But at the end of the day, it's the people's trust, whether or not they feel safe to go inside a theater to watch it. And if you talk about China and South Korea, their success are directly linked to whether or not the virus spread is contained effectively in that particular country. Okay, so China and South Korea are the two countries enjoying great comeback for their major film releases. And I would include Hong Kong and Taiwan as well. They are all getting ahead than the rest of the world because their countries are doing a better job.
Mm-hmm.
As simple as that.
Yeah. They have adults. They have adult leadership, unlike here. Yeah.
Well, you said it.
Yeah.
and I think the public can see it now. They
Yeah.
should realize what has been done, what hasn't been done that caused us where we are now.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you been to a theater since this whole thing happened?
Well, so I live in the city, and
Yeah.
AMC River East has been our core venue since
Mhm.
day one I started the festival. So they only opened on August 20th. So I attended an afternoon screening of the sequel to Train to Busan, The Peninsula, on August 22nd. So in my opinion, that film was made for a big screen.
Yeah.
For the sound effects, for everything you see on the big screen, then to be appreciated on your even on your biggest 85 inches TV, it's still not the same. So I went to see it. I was there on August 22nd. I would like to go back. I do find. I'm not saying about any other theater because I haven't been to anyone, because this one is a cineplex, right? So it's not like a little cinema with 2 or 3 or auditorium. They have 21 auditorium. The premises itself was very big and roomy and spacious, right? And high ceiling, everything. And inside, I was in a 200-seater house. For better or worse, that 320 screening, I was the only person in the theater.
That certainly helps make you feel.
I didn't feel anything wrong with it, but the way you order your ticket now, you actually see where you could sit. You could see, and they block out almost every other row. They block out all the almost like every 3 seats apart. You have 1 seat or 2 seats. So they are very strict in seats occupancy, inside the theater. And I felt very safe in that particular situation. And I noticed sanitizer stations were everywhere, and their bathroom was super clean. I did use it. No, it was a very positive experience for me.
You
And,
know,
and today is what, September 6th. I'm still talking.
no, you're good. Talk, please. Yeah.
Yeah. What I meant is, I'm not sick, right?
No, it's you know what? That sounds like an incredibly safe venue.
Yeah.
I would definitely trust going to AMC River East then because I mean they're really sound like they're taking the necessary precautions. I mean I went to Music Box twice and I felt pretty safe there as well.
Yep, I know that theater because it's a 800-seat house, right?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, it's like
750
750 or
seats.
just something,
Yeah.
and it's very easy to social distancing, and you know, even 20% capacity is still a good spread out, you know.
Hmm.
Uh, and if people behave like they should behave, like wearing masks, they should be, you know, and do their own protection,
Yeah.
and wash their hands, I think it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whenever I go anywhere, not only do I wash my hands, I have like a little bottle of hand sanitizer like in my
Yes.
pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And there
Yeah.
you can get those at like Walgreens for like a
Right. Exactly.
$2. Yeah. Um, so going back a little bit, how did you get involved in the world of filmmaking?
Well, number one, I am not a filmmaker,
Mhm.
so let's make it clear. Asian Pop-Up Cinema is a film festival. Okay, so you could call me as the organizer of a film festival, or we are part of the exhibition of any films, right? It's like a theatrical release, or what? We are within the exhibition line of work. As an exhibitor, um, my role is to exhibit the film that I think they deserve to be premiered, deserve to show show them in the best light, give them a little bit more boost, then, you know, and enhance treatment in a sense, marketing them correctly to the targeted audience, and based on my film festivals, the selection and everything. So my role is really showing the film in the best light in when they should be shown. Usually, film festivals show the film ahead of their theatrical releases, or in this case, in Asian film, before they getting their film distribution in the West, right? So that's their platform of having their film shown, and they create a buzz and everything. So that's my role. And personally, I grew up in a filmmaker's family, and my father and mom were filmmakers, and my father was an editor and my mom was an actress. So that's the link to the filmmaking for me personally.
Oh wow, yeah. Yeah, I wish I could say the same. My yeah. Yeah. No. Um, so how do you think Western, I mean, I can go on forever about it, but how do you think Western audiences have embraced Asian cinema throughout history, you know, towards today?
Well, that's a very long history we're covering, but
Yeah, yeah.
as I said earlier, I do think that generally, if we divide up the continents, you know, look at each continent, Europe somehow have embraced Asian cinema earlier than America, okay? And Americans are a little bit behind in accepting subtitle movies. But they did accept the action film first because there were less dialogue in it. You know, there's not much words in it, and it's more more visual spectacle, and it's easier for them to accept it, to watch it. So, like for example, Mulan, right?
Hmm.
You know, Mulan is now being released on the Disney, which was postponed from a theatrical release and now gone totally virtual. It is a film based on a classic story from China, but in the end, they make it as a visual marvel, right? And in America, they show it in English. Do I mind, or do I say this is not the best way to show the film? I think it's still the best way to show the film and expose them to a wider audience. If more Americans can see it, that means they are one step closer to understand Asian culture. Whether it's a classic story or whether it's an anime or anything. And I think it's important to continue with that cause. In a way, it's a champion. We are all champion doing it. So I think Asian pop-up cinema main responsibility today is continue exposing the audience, the public, general public, with a diverse selection of film made by Asian filmmaker. And I could show, if you look at my selection, I really give you a big mix. The mix and the content, my intention is that I've got something for everyone. You can pick this one, you like that, or you like the horror movie, you like the zombie movie, or you like a family drama, you go for that. And I think the stories will draw the audience and forget that they are only watching Asian cinema.
Yeah. I mean, with me, I mean, Asian cinema, I could see the influence, in the West for a while there. I mean, if you look at anything from Steven Spielberg or George Lucas, for instance, a lot of Star Wars is influenced from Kurosawa films. A lot of Spielberg's movement with his camera echoes Kurosawa as well. If you look at sort of like the mumblecore underground filmmaking movements, those are a lot like Yasuhiro. I think I said his name right. Osu's movie.
Yeah.
And then you see a lot of like American audiences hiring guys like Ang Lee or James Wan, who did he did the Saw films, and I think later he did like Aquaman or something like that. And you have Old Boy with Chan-wook, you have Bong Joon-ho, who's like a rock star now, in the United States. It's really kind of grown more and more, and I think like Subtitles specifically, just to harp back on that, I think we've kind of gotten over that a lot. And of course, anime and martial arts. I mean, The Matrix, for instance, is heavily. And so, I mean, they even had the Animatrix. I remember when the Matrix sequels were coming out.
Don't forget Tarantino, Kill
Oh,
Bill,
yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. Kill Bill. or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. There was that big controversial scene where Brad Pitt got in a fight with Bruce Lee, and the family like how they portrayed Bruce Lee, which I could totally understand. It's huge. So then, what do you think a primary stylistic distinction exists in Asian cinema?
I mean, you cited it already. You talk about all this influence, all this director. There's some sort of their elements or a feature or use or whatever, reinvented in American movies, right? They're remaking. They are remaking stories from. Just talk about a couple. Juno, right? Wasn't it? What is that Japanese horror movie that got the ghost coming out of the TV?
That's I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the name of it, but I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So
The Ring,
right? They make several rings.
Yes.
and
based off Ringu,
yeah. And then there's a Korean movie that got Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock. It's called The Lake House.
House. I didn't know that was.
That's a beautiful time travel type of a romance movie based on a South Korean movie. It's a little quiet film, and there's so many remakes are now back and forth. Who make a movie based on a Hong Kong?
Well, there was a remake of Old Boy that Spike Lee directed. I know.
Yeah. So you see, the filmmakers, they are very good accepting and recreating and making something new of their own. And in my opinion, Asian cinema is one of those has so many distinctions that one thing is they don't have is to nail them down to say they are only good at this or they are only good at that. No, they are every one of them are super versatile and flexible. I mean, you could see one director making a stylistic film noir type of film, and the next day he make a comedy rom-com, right? And then the next day they make a blockbuster about bombs and then they have another those cult classic horror about a guy killing people and chop them up and put them into a barbecue bomb and eat them up. You know, the stories that come out is tremendous and fantastic and crazy, right? And so I couldn't tell what. At the end of the day, okay, just talk about Parasite.
Yeah.
Parasite is a drama. It's a little bit of scary thriller at the back and got suspense in, and it's dark, and it's also very realistic, showing the social class differences, right? It combines so much in that movie, and the filmmakers just like a fish. And swimming comfortably from this end to that end, to the deep end, to the shallow end. They do so much with that movie. And that's why it makes a different type of movie. And I think they need to be celebrated, right?
Absolutely. I mean, one thing I always loved about Asian cinema, it might just be me, but they're very visceral in style, and they're not afraid to sort of step away from subtlety, although there is subtlety, especially with something like an Ozu film. You know, those movies are very much like, this is what it's like to live everyday life.
Yeah.
You know, and it's sort of I mean, I love Tokyo Story, for instance.
Yes.
You know, like that's one of those rare movies that kind of examines a lot of the sort of taboo elements within the household that you don't think about like what happens when children grow up and, you know, they're sort of still like children inside and they mistreat their parents and stuff. You know, it's like, wow, like you don't see that sort of subtlety in a movie, because like immediately when people jump to Asian cinema, they think of, you know, big, you know, tight zoom ins with cameras and loud music and people screaming. It is not like that all the time. It's extremely diverse.
Yeah, extremely diverse. If you come to, if you go attend some of my virtual cinema this season coming up, we short of showing it per week, right? Every week is from one particular origin, you know, geographic. The first week is South Korean, and then followed by Japan week, and then the Taiwan week, and then the China week, and then Hong Kong, right? Since you like so much about Ozone, I really encourage you to see my 4 titles selected for the Japanese film. And they're made by, there's an anime which we're going to have a world premiere, and they are 2 indie film, and then the last one is so funny, is by Watanabe. His film is just about a filmmaker having a biggest writer's block. Okay. So he's idling. He's like, don't know what to do. The whole film is about, he actually starred in it too. So he directed, he wrote it, and he acted in it. And it's so real and it's so funny. It's his sense of humor will come across to any filmmaker. How do they deal with the daily life besides the pressure of dealing with their distributor or writer, you know, whoever pressuring them to come up with something. What is your writing? So at the same time, and he have to live his day. So it's actually hilarious. So I hope you got to see some of them, and they are hosted on this wonderful platform, Festival Scope. and that I feel very secure because they are powered by Shift 72. So all the films hosted there, I know I'm also protecting the film rights. Their film having a good secure platform. So check out our films, and if you can come to some drive-in, experience the live audience experience, or go to the online section and pick the film you want to watch from home.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the driving's a lot of fun now too. And well, I have a thing with drive-in movies. I can't reveal yet, but I'm excited to
Okay.
in the future. Yeah. Yeah. So Sophia, thank you so much for coming on. Where can we find all the information on Asian pop-up cinema? I mean, include a link in the description of the video, of course.
Yeah.
Where can we find you guys?
Okay, so we have a website, asianpopupcinema.org. Okay, all one word. If you just want to see the entire lineup, so the hash is season -11 -overview. So asianpopupcinema.org / season -11 overview. And there you see the whole program, altogether the 22 films, and they're separated with 7 film at the drive-in and 15 film at the virtual platform. And or you go to, just want to look at the virtual platform because you are outside of Chicago, then you just go to festivalscope.com/page/APUC/, and you will see the entire platform and the selection of our virtual 15 films shown over there. And all you have to do is to sign up the first time, click on the film you want to watch. They are $5 only. In fact, if you send this out earlier, we have an early birds promo. It takes you the price down to $2. If you register ahead of time before September 10, you can actually register first, put in the lock it on at $2, and then you can watch the film when it's ready to be watched.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Check out the Asian Pop-Up Cinema releasing this Thursday, actually. So by the time this comes up, it might be tomorrow. So get on that, guys.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And thank you very much. And it's nice talking to you.
Yeah, it's great talking to you again.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Thank you guys so much. This has been You'll Probably Agree. Of course, you could check us out at ypareviews.com. If you guys haven't figured out, the YPA stands for You'll Probably Agree. Have a great one. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Thank you so much again, Sophia, for telling me about Asian pop-up cinema. Maybe now you learned a little more about Asian cinema. Maybe you already knew about the influences it had on movies today. I mean, if you like George Lucas or Steven Spielberg, think of Akira Kurosawa for that. If you love Bong Joon-ho's movies, like Snowpiercer, which I think might be a show now, or Parasite that swept out the Oscars, and maybe the last year's the Oscars will ever exist. No. As Sophia said, cinemas will come back as if they aren't already coming back right now. Go check out Asian Pop-Up Cinema. It's like coming out tomorrow. What are you waiting for? Click on the link. It's in the description. It's easier than me describing it through the URL. What have you got to lose? You can even watch it from home. Oh, that must be so tough to click on a link and check it out from home. And hey, if you want to have a drink while checking out some of these Asian pop-up films, if you're afraid to go into a bar, go on Galway Bay's dual drinkware page. It's also in the description of the video. Click on there. You can get a whiskey glass, you can get a wine glass, you can get a t-shirt. My favorite one is of Schwarzenegger with Predator, and it says Galway Bay. Soon the bender will begin. All right. It's a great shirt. Looks awesome on me, especially since I lost about 38 pounds since the pandemic. And also, get some of those, seriously, the wooden coasters they have is amazing. Please check it out. If you have any questions for Nolan, if you want Nolan to come on my show, the guy who owns Galway Bay, to talk about Predator, which is his favorite film, which I have never seen. I admit it. I've never seen Predator. All right? Message him over at Bay Chicago. That's capital B and then for Bay and then capital C for Chicago. Bay Chicago on Twitter. Okay? And also Galway Bay 500 on Instagram. Thank you guys so much. And please check out some Asian films. You'll love them. How could you not? And so many Asian films have influenced American films. All right. Have a good one.